You don't realize how fragile travel has become until the moment someone in uniform quietly says, "Sir, please step aside." No alarms, no raised voices, just that sentence. And suddenly, everything you planned for months is standing on one decision you didn't even know you were making. Most people think airport problems come from being late, or forgetting a charger, or packing the wrong shoes. But that's not what's stopping travelers anymore, especially travelers over 60. What's stopping them now are quiet rule changes, policy updates that don't make headlines, requirements that airlines enforce but don't explain, systems that assume everyone travels like they're 32 years old, tech-savvy, and glued to their phone. And the worst part? You can do everything you've always done right and still be denied boarding. Today, I want to walk you through what's actually happening at airports right now and moving forward into 2026. Not rumors, not fear bait. Real enforcement patterns that are already costing travelers thousands. Some of what I'm about to explain sounds small, almost insignificant. But the final thing we'll talk about is the one mistake that travelers swear can't possibly matter until it does. So stay with me, because once you know these, you don't panic at airports anymore. You move differently. Welcome to Flywise, where we cut through airline fine print, airport confusion, and the rules nobody explains until it's too late. If you've been flying for decades, you've probably noticed something unsettling. Airports feel less forgiving than they used to, less human, less flexible. That's not your imagination. Airlines and security agencies have shifted from judgment-based systems to compliance-based systems. That means agents aren't deciding whether something is reasonable anymore. They're checking whether it fits the rule. And if it doesn't, there is no override button. Let's start with the passport mistake that still surprises seasoned travelers. Most people think a passport's expiration date is the finish line. As long as it's valid on the day you travel, you're fine. That used to be true. It's not anymore. Many countries now require your passport to remain valid well beyond your travel dates. Not until you return, not until you arrive. Beyond. That gap catches people because it feels illogical. You're not overstaying. You're not breaking immigration rules. You're just not allowed to board. And here's the detail most travelers miss. Airlines enforce this rule before you ever reach immigration. By the time you're arguing, the decision is already made. The fix isn't complicated, but it requires thinking differently. Your passport isn't valid until the date printed on it. It's valid until the date minus several months, depending on where you're going. And no airline agent is going to warn you while you're booking. They assume you already know. Now let's talk about something that feels even more unfair. Passport condition. Not expiration. Condition. Modern passports are no longer just paper documents. They contain embedded chips and antennas. And those components can fail without any visible damage at all. A passport can look perfect and still be considered unusable. What causes this? Bending it to fit into pockets, sitting on it, exposing it to moisture, even storing it loosely in a bag where it flexes repeatedly. When the chip doesn't respond instantly, automated systems flag it. And once that happens, the burden shifts to you to prove the document is valid. Most travelers don't realize that by 2026, more countries are moving toward mandatory electronic gate processing. That means human discretion is being replaced by machine verification. Machines don't care that it worked last time. They care whether it works now. If your passport struggles to scan even once, that's a warning sign. And it's far cheaper to replace it at home than discover the problem at a departure gate. Now let's move to domestic travel, because this is where many people feel blindsided. Real ID. You've heard about it. You may even think you already handled it. But enforcement has changed. What used to be flexible is now rigid. A standard driver's license without the proper markings doesn't automatically stop you from traveling, but it changes the entire experience. Secondary screening, delays, missed flights, and here's the part that frustrates people. TSA agents aren't required to explain why one ID passes easily and another triggers extra scrutiny. From their perspective, the rule is simple. From yours, it feels arbitrary. If you travel more than once or twice a year, the smartest move isn't juggling documents. It's simplifying. One universally accepted ID. One habit. One system you rely on every time. Consistency is what reduces stress at airports now, not familiarity. And while we're talking about systems that assume everyone travels the same way, we need to talk about what's happening internationally. Europe has quietly transformed how borders work. Stamps are disappearing. Manual checks are shrinking. Biometrics are becoming the default. Fingerprints, facial scans, digital records stored for years. This isn't about surveillance paranoia. It's about logistics. These systems are efficient, but only if your body cooperates. Arthritis, tremors, reduced grip strength. All of these slow down biometric processing. And when processing slows down, connections get missed. The rule changes don't account for that. You have to. That means padding connection times. Speaking up immediately when something isn't working. Knowing that delays at immigration now count just as much as delays at security. Silence costs time. Time costs money. And Europe isn't done adding layers. Pre-travel authorizations are becoming the norm globally. Not visas, not permissions to stay, permissions to board. They're easy to apply for, if you know they exist. Airlines won't chase you down to remind you. Their system simply checks whether approval is linked to your passport. If it isn't, you don't fly. And applying at the airport is no longer the quick fix people assume it is. Some approvals are instant, others aren't, and no one can guarantee which category you'll fall into. That uncertainty is what ruins trips. Now let's bring this back to US airports, because this is where one of the most misunderstood changes is happening. Digital ID. Yes, it exists. Yes, it's expanding. No, it is not universal. Digital IDs are optional conveniences, not replacements, and relying on them alone is one of the fastest ways to end up stuck in verification limbo. Technology works until it doesn't. A scanner fails, a phone battery drops, a checkpoint isn't equipped yet, or an agent simply can't accept it at that location. The travelers who move smoothly through security now are the ones who treat digital tools as backups, not foundations. And the same principle applies to something even more personal. Medications. Security allows exceptions, but exceptions require communication. Liquids over standard limits are permitted for medical reasons, but only if you declare them. TSA doesn't assume. They don't infer. They don't guess. If you don't say anything, the system treats it as a violation, not a necessity. And most people only learn this rule after losing something they depend on. The pattern you should notice by now is simple. Airports no longer reward experience. They reward preparation. And that brings us to the final issue. The one that costs travelers the most money, the most frustration, and the most disbelief. Passport pages. Not expiration. Not damage. Blank space. Many countries still require multiple consecutive blank pages for entry, not scattered pages, not partial space. Clean, unused pages side by side. And here's the part that feels cruel. You can have years of validity left and still be denied boarding because your passport book is too full. There is no fix at the airport, no add-on pages anymore, no exception for age or experience. It's binary, enough space or not. This is the mistake people argue about the most because it feels technical, unnecessary, outdated. But arguing doesn't change enforcement. Checking does. The travelers who glide through airports in 2026 aren't luckier. They're quieter, more deliberate. They've shifted from reacting to systems to anticipating them. And that's really what Flywise is about. Not fear, not rules for the sake of rules, but clarity. If flying has started to feel stressful, confusing, or unpredictable, it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because the rules changed, and no one bothered to sit you down and explain them. Now you know. And once you know, you don't get caught off guard at a counter. You don't feel rushed at a scanner. You don't hear, "Please step aside," and wonder what you missed. You move with certainty, and that makes all the difference.